أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته and welcome to another one of your G2 classes. I hope and pray that today everyone is doing well, they're keeping safe, and I hope that this lesson is beneficial for each and every one of you. Just before we start the class, I just want to remind you all to make sure that you guys have joined this lesson with the correct IDs. You can check your IDs by going to the participant list. You'll find yourself right at the top of the list, and you can see if you've signed in with the correct ID or not. And if you haven't signed in with the correct ID, you have been given the option of renaming yourself. So do rename yourself. Your ID should consist of the letter G and 4 numbers after it. So please make sure that you do that now before we start the class. The thing is, if you do come in with the incorrect IDs, then we cannot call you on the mic for the recitation and the practice. And therefore, we do want to call as many people on the mic as possible for that. And worst case scenario, you will find yourself in the waiting room if you still haven't signed in with the correct ID. But you have time right now, please do rename yourself. If there are any questions or queries, do not hesitate to email us at ukquran@gmail.com, and feel free to visit our website as well, ahmadiyya.uk/NQC. So just looking at the agenda of today, as always, inshallah, we will start our class with an opening dua. And then we are going to be looking at waqf on tanween. We're going to be looking at 2 types of waqf of tanween, 2 types of them. Then we will practice we'll practice the surah that you guys started off yesterday. And inshallah, we will be going through the letter of the day as well. And then we will summarize the lesson towards the end and finish the class with an end dua. So, as always, just before we start the class, we will start the class off with an opening dua. So, assalamu alaikum, co-host.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam. May I please have a student on the mic for the opening dua?
Okay, I'm going to call G2167.
Okay, G2167. Assalamu alaikum. G2167. Assalamu alaikum.
I can't unmute her. Oh.
What was the ID you said?
G2167.
67. Okay. Okay, I've asked them to unmute. Okay, no problem. If you could move on to the next ID.
Okay, I'm going to call G2170.
G2170. Assalamu alaikum. G2170. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, no problem. Wa alaikum salam. How are you today?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. So may you start off with Dawood and Tasmiyah and recite this following prayer for me, please?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي علمني ما هو خير عندك.
MashaAllah, very nicely recited. And could you please recite the English as well for me?
Oh my Lord, teach me what is best for me in your knowledge.
Perfect. Very nicely recited. Jazakallah khair for your time. Allah Hafiz. Okay, that was a very nice recitation. Okay, so today, before I show you what we're going to be covering, let me quickly just share the screen with you guys. Okay, I hope you can see that. Okay, perfect. So we are today going to be looking at 2 kinds of waqf, okay? Before you move on, we need to know what waqf means. Basically, waqf means to pause or to stop at the last vowel letter of a word by breaking the voice and breaking the breath during the recitation. So sometimes you do realize that sometimes, the verses are too long, and being able to complete a whole verse within one breath can be very hard. And therefore we decide to pause. In other words, we decide to do waqf so that we can take a breath and then carry on the recitation from there. So that's what waqf means. And today, as I said, we are going to be looking at two kinds of waqf. The first type of waqf we are going to be looking at is the pausing on dammatain, the waqf on dammatain. So this is the rule, that if a word ends with a tanween of damma, it will change to a sukoon. So if the letter you're pausing at has got a dammatain on top, so what's a dammatain? It's basically 2 strokes of damma. If it's got a dammatain on top, you will basically sort of get rid of those 2 strokes. You get rid of the dammatain and replace that with a sukoon. So the letter with the dammatain is now going to change into a letter with a sukoon or a jazm on top. It's going to turn into a sakin letter. Now, if we go through a few examples, we're going to start off with how it's written initially and how we will recite if we were to pause, or how the word would look if we were to pause on that word. So here is the first example, all right? As you can see, this letter here is muhitun. I'll say that one more time for you. Muhitun. And it's shown that this letter now has got a dammatain on top, right? So this right here, this symbol here is the dammatain symbol. If we were to pause, you can see that this muhitun has now changed into muhit, right? We've put a jazm. As you can see, this is like a circle, but different prints and different Qurans, like it's written in different styles. So you can find the jazm like this, or you can find the jazm like a little small hook on top of the letters, right? So you can see that this ta with the dammatain on top has now changed to a ta with a jazm or a sukoon on top, okay? So when we're pausing, rather than saying muhitun, I'm going to end up saying muhit. And as you can hear, I'm giving like a jerking sound at the end of this word as well. That's because ta is one of your kalkala letters. Now, you guys did go through kalkala, so somewhere during this lesson today, I'm going to try and quickly remind you of the kalkala letters as well. So remember to give a jerking sound, okay? If you look at the next example, you have dif-un, okay? Here, the hamza has got a dammatain on top. But if we were to pause, as you can see, that dammatain is no longer there. It's now changed into a sukoon or a hamza. So if I'm pausing, I will say dif, okay? I'm not giving a very hard sort of a jerking sound here. It's very slight, soft, all right? So when you're pausing, that dammatain on top of a hamza will now change into a sukoon, all right? Let's look at the next example quickly. You have mustamirrun. Okay, as you can see, there is a tanween on top, dammatain, tanween of damma. And that's circled here. If we were to pause, I will say mustamir. So that dammatain is now going to change into a sukoon, all right? So it's now become a ra, well, it's got a ra with the tashdid, but if you're pausing, we're going to act like there's a sukoon there. But do put some time on the ra, okay? So this is the rule of pausing on top of a dammatain. The dammatain is actually going to now change into a sukoon or a jazm. So that's the first type of, this is the first type of tanween that we are going to look at. The next type that we're going to look at is pausing on a kasratain. Okay, so we looked at the dammatain. So now we're going to look at kasratain. So let's see how the word would be written if it had a kasratain underneath. If you look at this example here, مختوم مختوم. So we're elongating at the end because there's a vowel mud here. Remember, the vowel sakin, if it comes with a dhamma before, then it turns into a vowel mud. So we've elongated that for 2 seconds. And here we can see that there's a kasratain at the end, well, at the bottom. So if we were to pause, right, that kasratain is now going to disappear and the meme will now have a sukoon or a jazm on top. So that's right here, okay? So if we were to pause, makhtumin is now going to change into makhtum and sort of stretch it out for about 3 seconds sort of towards the end, okay? Let's look at the next example together. So as you can see, this example, the ayn is the letter that has got the kasratain underneath, and this is the letter that we're pausing at. So if we were not pausing, we will say ju'in, ju'in. But remember, ayn is one of your throat letters. The sound comes from the middle of the throat. So remember to give it the correct sound for ayn, yeah? And if you were pausing, that ayn with the kasratain is now going to change into an ayn that has got a sukoon or a jazm on top. So it's now become an ayn sakin. So if we were pausing, we will say ju', ju', all right? So just remember now that the ayn with the kasratain has now changed into an ayn with a jazm. And just looking at the last example here, we can see that you have a hamza with a kasratain underneath, yeah? So if we are saying this initially without pausing, we will say shay'in, shay'in, okay? But if you were pausing, right, this kasratain now, this letter with the kasratain, is now going to change into a letter that's got a sukoon or a jazm on top. So now the hamza with the kasratain has changed into a hamza with a sukoon. It's now a hamza sakin. So if I'm pausing, I will say shay, shay, all right, and like a slight soft jerking sound towards the end. So this is the rule of pausing on a kasratain and pausing on a dhammatain. In both scenarios, in both cases, the tanveen is going to change, well, the tanveen of dhamma or the tanveen of kasra is going to change into a sukoon. So that is the rule in focus for today. If I go and share a new screen with you guys now. Hopefully you guys can all see that. So we've literally just gone through the rule of pausing on a kasratain and pausing on a dhammatain, okay? It will change into a sukoon, and there is an exception though. You know the ta marbuta rule that we learned? If there is a ta marbuta and you're pausing on a ta marbuta, regardless of whatever stroke it has on top, regardless of any stroke, that will change into a ha sakin. Okay, so even though if the ta marbuta had a dhammatain on top, right, it will not turn into a ta sakin, it will turn into a ha sakin. So there is an exception of the ta marbuta rule, okay? And this rule of pausing on the dhammatain that I just showed you today and pausing on a kasratain is applied across all other letters of the Holy Quran. Okay, so as always, we are going to go through this recitation of Surah Al-Buruj together today. I do realize you guys stopped at verse 11 yesterday, so we're going to carry on from here. So co-host, may I please have a student on the mic to recite this surah with me?
Yes, I'm going to call G2153.
Yep. G2153. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good, alhamdulillah. So could you please start off with Dawood and Tasmiyah and recite up to this one? So start off with Dawood and Tasmiyah and I will help you recite this verse, okay? It's pretty long, yeah?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Perfect. So let's do this. I will recite Dawood and Tasmiyah as well in a second. I will recite the first verse for you and then we will break it up and you can repeat after me so that we can practice that together, okay?
Okay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير. Okay, now let's break this verse up into words and repeat after me, please. إن الذين Perfect. Do you remember that this was one of the letters that we have covered already? This you cannot give it, this letter you cannot give it a zal sound. Remember a zal, I don't know if I can find a zal right now. Here. This is a zal, okay? So you cannot, try not to get confused between the two. Here you will give a Z sound, so zu, but here you're going to say the. Try saying that for me.
The.
Very good, mashallah. So let's try that once more. إن الذين Perfect. Very nicely recited. I can already hear the improvement that you've made here. آمنوا Perfect. Here is a vowel mud. How long will we elongate that for?
2 seconds.
2 seconds. Very nicely said. Let's move on. وعملوا الصالحات
وعملوا الصالحات.
Very nice. لهم جنات Very nice. Have you noticed that we are giving like a concealed, like a hidden nasal sound at the da, right?
Yes.
Do you know why we do that? Okay, let's put it this way. This letter ta, is it one of your throat letters?
It's one of the wait, what was it called? It's one of the waqf letters.
Oh yeah, you're trying to look at the ta marbuta. That's something different. Don't worry. But I'm just saying, do you know your throat letters like ha, ha, ain? Do you think this is part of them?
No.
No, perfect. So any letter that's not part of your throat letters, if that occurs after like a tanveen, yeah, or a sukoon, right, a noon sakin, then you will basically give a concealed nasal sound. So in this case, the ta is not part of the throat letters, and therefore that dammatain, you're giving a nasal sound, like a concealed hidden nasal sound. So let's try that one more time. Jannatun.
Jannatun. I know what type.
Yeah.
I know what type of letter it is. It's a qalqala letter.
This ta, I think you're getting confused between the ta. This letter is the one that's the qalqala letter. Two are very like common letters. They get mixed with a lot of the time. So try to always show the difference between the ta and the ta. Yeah. This is the letter that is the qalqala letter. This one is not. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So tajri.
Tajri.
And you realize that we're giving a jerking sound here, yeah?
تجري
Very good. So we're giving like a slight jerking sound there. من تحتها
من تحتها
الأنهار
الأنهار
ذلك
ذلك
Very beautiful zal sound given. Everyone at home, remember, this letter, you cannot give it a za sound. So very nicely recited. فوز الكبير.
فوز الكبير.
Very nice. I'll recite the next verse for you now. إن بطش ربك لشديد. Just remember the jerking sound here on the ta. I'll just highlight that one again actually. But that's the jerking sound we're giving here. So repeat after me, please. إن بطش.
إن بطش.
Okay, when we're giving a jerking sound, it's almost as if like a bounce you're giving on top of that letter. So try saying bottle.
بطل.
Very good. So let's do that one more time. إن بطش ربك.
إن بطش ربك.
Good. Very nice recitation. لشديد.
لشديد.
Perfect. Very nicely recited. Do you want to try recite that one more time by yourself, or are you okay?
I think I found a waqf.
The waqf?
A rule of waqf. It's at the end of ayat 13. Dammatain.
Very good. That is very nicely said. Everyone at home, this student right here has found the waqf that we were learning today, which is the waqf on dammatain. So there is a dal, it's got a dammatain on top, and we are pausing. So rather than saying la shadidun, we are saying la shadid and giving it like a slight jerking sound at the end because it's dal is one of your kalkala letters. So that was very nicely pointed out. Well done. Jazakallah for your time.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, take care. Okay, so everyone else at home, whenever you're reciting, just like the student did here today, he actually tried to find out where the waqf letter was. Do that. Whenever you learn a rule or something, just try and see where in the Quran it's located. And that really does help you practice more and more. And then you start getting more comfortable with it. And you get very fluent in the pronunciation. So just remember, just like we pointed out this letter here, we pointed out the letter here today. Do that in your daily recitations. Try and find out what rule is present in what verse, and that really does help you out quite a lot. So if I could please have another student on the mic to help me recite the next few verses.
Okay, I'm going to call G2174.
Yep. G2174. Assalamu alaikum. G2174. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, no worries.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you today?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah for asking. Okay, so you're going to be reciting up to this verse here. So as always, could you please start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, and then I will run you through the verses together, yeah?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, perfect. I've already recited Dawood and Tasmiyah, so I will not have to do that again. So let's look at the first verse. إِنَّهُ هُوَ يُبْدِئُ وَيُعِيدُ. So let's go through that word by word. إِنَّهُ.
إنه.
Very nice. What do you notice here? That what's this? What have I just highlighted?
Shadda.
Shadda. Very good.
Shadda.
Very nice. So what are we doing when there's a shadda that comes on a letter?
Press down on it.
Very good. So a lot of people like to say you press down on it, you put more emphasis on it, and then a lot of people like to act like, oh, maybe it's a double letter, and so you're giving like sort of a double sound, you're putting hard pressure on it. So very good, very nicely said. Moving on. Huwa yubdi'u
Huwa yubdi'u
wa yu'id.
wa yu'id.
Very nice. What do you notice about the ba? When I'm saying yub, what am I doing?
Kalkala.
Very good, well done. So the ba is one of your kalkala letters, and so we are going to give a jerking sound on it, yeah? If I just quickly take you to this PDF, because I think it's going to come in handy with everyone here today. These are your kalkala letters. If these letters have got a sakin on top, a sukoon on top, or a jism, you're going to give a jerking sound. You have qaf, ta, ba, jim, and dal. Okay, so if these letters come in a sakin form, then you will basically put give a jerking sound. Yeah?
Yes.
That's the rule. Perfect. And as you can see, even though this dal is a kalkala letter, but it doesn't have a jism on top, when we are pausing, we are still giving it a jerking sound. Do you know why?
No.
No worries. The dal actually now, the dhamma is sort of disappeared and turns into a sukoon. So when you're pausing, rather than saying yuridu, we're saying yurid. Could you say that for me, please?
Yu'id.
Very nice. Very nicely recited, mashallah. Well done. Let's look at the next verse now. وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. Let's break that up now. وَهُوَ
Wahuwal
الغفور
ghafurul
الودود.
wadud.
Perfect. Remember, we're giving like a round mouth here on the ra. So try say ra for me.
Gha.
Very nice. Well done. Let's look at the next verse. ذو العرش المجيد. So let's break that up now. ذو العرش
Zul arshil.
Perfect. Is ayn one of your throat letters?
Yes.
Yes, well done. Do you know where the sound comes from? The middle, the top, or the bottom of the throat?
Middle.
Very good, well done. So the ayn is a letter and the sound comes from the middle of the throat. It's one of your throat letters. So well done, very nicely pointed out. Let's look at the next verse. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. So let's break that up now. فَعَالٌ لِي.
Fa'alul.
Perfect. Just remember, this ayn has got the tashdid on top, yes? So we're putting pressure on the ayn. So let's try that one more time. فَعَالٌ.
Fa'alul.
Very nice, mashallah. مَا يُرِيدُ.
Ma yurid.
Well done. Let's look at the next one. هل أتاك حديث الجنود. So let's break that up now. هل أتاك
Hal ataka
حديث
hadisul
الجنود.
junud.
Perfect. Just remember this tha here. Try saying tha for me.
Sa.
Very good. Well done. With this tha, we cannot get confused between the seen or the tha. If I try and find a seen here quickly. Well, I don't see a scene right now as such, but I do hope that you know what a scene looks like, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. It's like a sheen, but without the dots. Okay, so imagine the dots is not there. So let's try and say this again. Hadithul.
Hadithul
Very nice. Junud.
junud.
Perfect. So this time you beautifully said the tha. Let's move forward to the next verse. فرعون
فرعون
وثمود.
وثمود.
Very nice. And we are elongating at the towards the end as well. Yeah, the yamad is there. We're giving a jerking sound towards the end because is dal one of your kalkala letters?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Very nicely recited. Do you want to read these verses by yourself? Do you want to give it a try?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's go for it.
إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد.
Perfect. Sorry, just to pause you. Sorry. Just remember the ba here is also one of your kalkala letters. Yeah. So say yubadi.
يبدي.
Perfect. Yeah. Moving on.
وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد.
It's an ayn. Ayn. Yep.
ما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود.
Perfect. Very nicely recited. And I'm really happy that you gave this a shot by yourself and you've done really well, mashallah. So you should be very proud of yourself. Jazakallah. Jazakallah khair. Take care.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so yeah. Well, we should be moving on to the letters of the day now, and then we will come back and then we will look at completing these last two lines of the surah. So let's just look at the letters of the day. Today we're covering two letters, inshallah. This is the first letter that we're looking at. Here, this is the original form of the letter. I will pronounce this letter out for you. Wow. Wow. Okay, so you're sort of rounding your mouth, okay? As you can see, this vowel has got no dot on top. Yeah, so there is no dot. It can join to the previous letter, so any letter before it, it can join to it, but it cannot join to the next letter, so it never joins to the next letter. In this example, as you can see, it's not joining to the next letter. Instead, it's taking its full form. If we look at here, at this example, this vowel has joined to the previous letter, which it can do. Remember, it can join to the previous letter. So this vowel has joined now to the ya. There's sort of like a bend when it's joining to the ya. Can you see? There's like a bend. It's joining to the ya. And here towards the end as well, it's taken its full form. So how do we say this letter, you might ask? Well, it says here that this letter is pronounced by rounding the lips, and it actually sounds like the English word wow. Okay, it really does. If you try saying it at home right now. Wow. Wow. Can you hear it? It sounds like the English word. So that really does help you remember how the sound of wow should be said. Okay, so this is the first letter that we've looked at. This next letter is actually elongated for 5 seconds. With the correct, accurate pronunciation, you should elongate it for 5 seconds when you're talking about it or when you're saying it. So I'll do that for you now. Yeah. Yeah. As you can hear, I'm elongating it for 5 seconds because that is the correct, accurate way of saying it. If you are talking to someone mid-sentence about a yeah, you don't need to prolong it for 5 seconds. But remember, the accurate and the correct pronunciation is if you elongate this letter for 5 seconds. Now, the ya is recognized by 2 dots at the bottom. You might ask yourself, why does this letter not have 2 dots underneath if it's a ya? Okay, just remember there's different styles of writing of Arabic, okay? Different styles of Arabic writing. So one style of writing may include the 2 dots. Another style of writing may not. And therefore, the more practice you do, the more you start getting used to these different styles of writing, where sometimes they include the two dots or sometimes they don't. So just remember that even though it doesn't have the two dots, it's still a ya, okay? And where are the two dots? Below. It should normally come below. As you can see, this is a ya. It's got two dots at the bottom. Now the ya can join to the previous letter, and it can also join to the next letter. So in both cases, before and after, it can join to previous and upcoming letters, okay? So here, as you can see, this ya is bending and joining to the alif, okay, which is the letter after it, okay? As we said, it can join to the letter after. And here, if it was to come in the middle, right, it's bending on both sides. There's a bend towards the right and a bend towards the left. It's joining to the ghain and it's joining to the za. So, and as you can see in these two examples, the two dots are present. Whereas if you look at this example, it's not joining to any letter at this point, but this ya has basically, if it's coming towards the end of the word, yeah, it will not have the two dots. In this style of writing, it doesn't, okay? And if you look at here, there's two yas. They've shown how the two yas have joined. In the start, if it's joining at the start, this is what it's going to look like. It's bending with the two dots. And these are actually two yas. There's a ya here, there's a ya here, and there's like a ya here as well, okay? So here it's taken the full form without any dots, whereas these two yas, they do have two dots there, okay? And how do you say this letter? Well, it's pronounced from the middle portion of your tongue, touching the opposite hard palate, okay? So, yeah. All right, let's try saying that at home. Yeah. Right? I hope everyone has tried that saying that at home. But yeah, these were the two letters. We've looked at wow, and we looked at yeah. So that was the letters of the day. Let's go back to the pronunciation of the surah. Co-host, may I please have a student on the mic to help me recite the next two lines?
Yes, I'm going to call G2177. And if you can unmute the student, please.
Yeah, G217. Let me find the student. G2177. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, start off with Dawood and Tasniya, and I'll help you guide you into the recitation, yeah?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Perfect. Let's do this. I'll recite one verse and then we'll break it up and you can repeat after me. And then towards the end, if you feel confident enough, you can recite the whole thing by yourself, yeah?
Okay.
Perfect. So here we go. بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب. So let's break that up word by word. بل الذين.
بل الذين.
Perfect. You very nicely put pressure on the lam because it's got a shadda there, yeah? Just remember, this is not a Z. Try say the for me.
The.
Okay, once more. Thina.
Zina.
Beautiful. Very nicely recited. You're a very quick learner. Well done. Kafaru.
كفروا
في تكذيب.
في تكذيب.
Okay, how will you recite this?
Z.
Okay, this letter and this letter are the same, okay? Just like we said the here, we are going to say the here too. So try saying takzeeb.
تكذيب.
Very nice. And why are we giving a jerking sound at the end over here?
تكذيب.
Yeah, no. I said, why are we giving a jerking sound? You gave a jerking sound beautifully before as well. Do you know why we are giving a jerking sound?
It's a kalkala.
Very nice, very nicely said. So the ba is actually one of your kalkala letters, and even though it doesn't have a sukoon on top or a jism, since we are pausing, we are actually imagining that it's now changed into a ba that has got a sukoon on top, so it's now changed into a ba sakin. Why? Because you are pausing. So very nicely said. Let's look at the next verse together now. Wallahu min waraihim muhit. So let's look at this. Let's break it word by word. Wallahu.
Wallahu.
Very nice. Min wara.
Min wara.
Perfect. Why are we elongating this so much? I don't think you guys have gone through the rule, but do you know why we are elongating it?
I don't know.
Okay, no worries. This sign here is actually one of your mud signs, okay? Mud basically like elongating signs. So whenever you see the sign in the Quran, just know that you have to elongate it for quite a few seconds, okay? Perfect. Let's look at the next word. Ihim muhit.
Ihim muhid.
Okay, let's try that one more time. Muhit.
Muhito.
Okay, perfect. This letter that I'm going to highlight for you here, is this one of your throat letters?
No.
No? It is, okay? Just remember, ha is one of your throat letters, all right? Yeah?
Okay.
And the sound comes from the middle. Don't worry, it's fine. These rules might sound a bit new to you, so don't worry about that. But just keep practicing, and that should come with you with time. So the ha is one of your throat letters, and it comes from the middle of the throat. So when you're giving the sound, you need to give a ha sound. Try saying that for me.
Ha.
Perfect. Very nicely said. And when we're giving a jerking sound at the end, rather than saying muhita, I'm saying muhit, and it's like a slight jerking sound there. Yeah?
Okay.
Perfect. Let's look at the next verse. بل هو قرآن مجيد. So let's break that up now. بل هو.
Bil huwa.
Okay, just remember this ba has got a fatha on top, so we're going to say bal. Let's try that one more time. بل هو.
Bal huwa.
Perfect. قرآن ما.
Qur'anun ma.
جيد.
Jito.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Let's try that one more time. جيد.
Jid.
Very nice. So, when you were reciting your verses, did you notice that the rule that we've learned today is actually coming up at the end of every verse, right?
Yes.
The rule of pausing on a dammatain and the rule of pausing on a kasratain. In both cases, when we pause, we substituted that, we replaced that with a, what did we replace it with? What does, if a letter has got a dammatain on top, right? In this case, it does. When I'm saying jeed, what does this dal turn into?
I don't know.
Okay, no worries. So the dal turns into a sukoon or a jazm, yeah? Let's just quickly go back to the rule. Here, you can see it's written as if it's got two dhamma, two strokes of dhammatain, yeah?
Yeah.
So if we are pausing, now that dhammatain would turn into a jazm or like a sukoon. So the ta with the dhammatain is going to turn into a ta sakin, okay? So rather than saying muhitun, we are going to say muhit, yeah?
Okay.
So this is how we're going to read when we are pausing. And that's the same thing here. You can see there is a dammatain, but when we are pausing, we are sort of saying that there is a sukoon or a jazm, that it changes into a sukoon or a jazm. Yeah? Understood? Are you there? What was the ID again? G2177 has muted themselves. Let's ask them to unmute again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's just look at the last verse. في لوح محفوظ. So let's break that up now. في لوح محفوظ.
محفوظ.
Okay, let's try that again. محفوظ.
محفوظ.
Perfect. I accidentally gave a jerking sound there at the end. Everyone at home, this is not one of your kalkala letters. Just remember, it's a normal letter, it's a non-kalkala letter, and therefore we will not give a jerking sound at this letter. Okay? And what can you see it has at the bottom? What is this? Is it a dammatain or is it a kasratain?
Kasratain.
Very good. 2 strokes of kasra. Whenever you come across them, remember it's known as kasratain. So rather than saying tanween of kasra, we're going to say kasratain. It's just a much easier form of saying it in Arabic. And when we paused, did we change the za into a sukoon and a jazm?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. So when we are pausing, you're joining the 2 letters together, you're taking a breath, you're pausing at that point, you're stopping, and therefore now the kasratain is now going to change into a za, a za with a sukoon or a jazm on top. Let's try that one more time. Fooz.
Fooz.
Okay, let's try that once more. Fooz.
Fooz.
Perfect. Very nicely recited. Do you want to try reciting these 2 lines by yourself?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Go for it. There's no harm in trying, because then this way we can help each other out, yeah?
Okay.
Perfect. You got this. Go for it.
Okay. Wallahu min waraihim muhit.
Oh, okay, you recite from it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, moving on.
Bil huwa Qur'anun Majid.
Just remember, this ba, what does it have on top? It's a fatha, yeah? So, rather than saying bil, we are going to say bal.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So recite this one once more for me.
Bal huwa Qur'anun Majid.
Perfect. And just remember, any letter that has got a fatha, dhamma, or kasra on top, or underneath, if it's a kasra, it will come underneath. You will basically only elongate it for 1 second. It's a very quick thing. So rather than saying huwa, I'm going to try saying huwa.
Okay. Huwa.
Perfect. So we're just elongating that for 1 second because it's just got a fatha, dhamma, or kasra on top. Yeah, perfect. And can you recite this last verse as well for me?
Okay. Fi lawhin mahfuz.
Perfect. Remember, this is a ya mad. Yeah, it's a ya. It's the letter of the day that we've learned today. See, in this part, so everyone at home as well, this part of this style of writing includes the 2 dots. Yeah? There are some styles that don't, but this style of writing does. So remember, there's a ya with a sukoon on top. The letter before that has got a kasra underneath. So how long will we prolong this letter for?
3 seconds.
It's actually 2 seconds. If you're pausing towards the end, then it's okay for you to do 3 seconds. But midway, if that comes within a verse, right, then you will prolong for 2 seconds, yeah?
Okay.
Perfect. And this ha right here, is it one of your throat letters?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Well done. So that sound comes from the middle of the throat, yeah?
Okay.
And here, since it's got a shadda, we are putting more pressure on it. So well done. You really tried your best and you did really good, actually, to be honest. A very nice recitation. Just keep practicing, and inshallah, you will start to understand the rules in more depth. Yeah?
Okay, Jazakallah.
Jazakallah khair. Well done. Allah Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I just want to make an announcement because
Yep.
we have got one incorrect ID in the waiting room. Because we can't call them on the mic, and they can't come in the class as well if they have got wrong ID.
Yes.
They have to get in touch with in charge either by email or via the parents group. If they don't know their ID,
Okay.
please ask the in charge. Only correct IDs are going to be admitted. Jazakallah.
Okay, perfect. Jazakallah khair for that reminder. So everyone, you all heard it. Co-host just said that it's an announcement from the in charge G1 that if you do come in with the incorrect IDs, you will not be called to the mic, and you will not be able to, we will basically put you in the waiting room. So please check your IDs over and over again. If you do not know what your ID is, then make sure that you contact the in charge of the G2 team, and then inshallah she will give you your ID. Okay. So just before we've come towards the end of the lesson, it's not the end of the lesson yet. So we have 4 minutes. I just thought it would be a good idea if I recite the surah once for you, so that you guys can understand how each of the words are recited. Now, as I'm reciting at home, everyone, I want you all to follow along with your index finger on the screen, and try and see how long I'm elongating a letter, where I'm giving a kalkala sound, and where I'm not giving a kalkala sound, and try and figure out where the rule of the day was today. As I'm reciting, if I can, I will try and highlight the rule of the day today as well as I'm reading, but try and figure it out yourself at home as well, okay? Okay, so I will start off with Dawood and Tasmi, and everyone follow along at home. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. Okay, as you have noticed, I've tried to highlight as much as I could as I'm reciting these letters that have got the kasratain or the dammatain on top, and when we're pausing, they come towards the end of the verse as well. So I wanted to highlight them for you. As you might have noticed, most of the time when we're pausing or when we're coming towards the end of a verse, we're giving a jerking sound in most of these verses. Why? Because this surah is a great example of the many surahs that actually have a lot of qalqala letters present. So remember, I tried to give a jerking sound anywhere I could where I saw the qalqala letters. For example, this dal here, this dal here as well. The qaf as well is one of your qalqala letters. Ra is not one of your qalqala letters, so we didn't give a jerking sound there. But just remember, your 5 qalqala letters, qaf, ta, ba, jim, and dal. And also remember the rule that we went through today, the rule of pausing on or doing waqf on a dammatain or a kasratain, right? These last few verses are basically a very good example to show you how to pause, right? So here you have a ba with a kasratain, and when we are pausing, we basically changed it to a sukoon. And this rule applies to both kasratain and dammatain. Remember, the ta marbuta rule is different, okay? With the ta marbuta, if it's got any stroke, regardless of the stroke, that will change into a ha sakin. So that was basically the rule of today. Alhamdulillah, we were able to complete the surah as well. Your homework is to practice Surah Al-Buruj from verses 12 to 23, which are the ones that we covered today in class. Apply all the rules that you know. This is something that comes up in all of your homeworks, right? Apply the rules that you know. Any knowledge that you have gained from the G1 course, you will use that knowledge and incorporate it in the Holy Quran when you're reading in your recitations, yeah? Because what better way is there to get fluent at something quicker? The learning part, as our motto is, learn and practice. The learning part is already done. You've been given the knowledge of the rules. Now it's your turn to practice. And when you're practicing, you need to make sure that you apply all the rules. And just remember, today we learned how to do waqf on 2 types of tanween, kasratain and dammatain. And as I said, the ta marbuta rule is different, okay? The ta marbuta, that rule will not apply fully, yeah? And just remember the letters of the day as well. We have vaw and ya that we went through today. So please practice that as much as you can too. So just before we finish class today, co-host, may I please have a student on the mic to recite the ending dua?
Yes, we can have G2167.
G2167, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you today?
Fine, thanks. And you?
I'm good too. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, since we don't have much time, let's do this. I'll recite it and you repeat after me, yeah?
Okay.
Allahumma rahamni.
Allahumma arhamni
Bil-Qur'an al-Azim.
Bil-Qur'an al-Azim.
Perfect. Can you read out the English for me?
Oh, Allah have mercy on me through the Quran the Great.
Perfect. Jazakallah khair for your time.
Bye.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, guys, so that was it for today's class. Jazakallah khair to everyone who attended. Make sure that you guys practice the rules as much as you can. Take care of yourselves, keep safe, and inshallah, we will hold another lesson, and I hope to see you there. Until then, take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.